Welcome to another edition of the Architects of Destiny podcast. Today I'll be talking to Alex Buta. Alex is an ascension and embodiment mentor, a soul mission coach and a new earth visionary. Today we'll be talking about the role of the divine masculine as we move towards the new earth. It's my absolute pleasure to introduce Alex Buta. Hi and welcome to another episode of the Architects of Destiny podcast. It's my absolute pleasure to be able to talk to another conscious awakened man today, and it's a pleasure to welcome you to the podcast. Alex Buta, welcome, my friend.
Thank you for having me. Hey, happy to be here.
You're so welcome. I just wonder if you could if we could just start by, had a look online, just can see that your business or your website, Sovereign Living, it'd be really cool if you could share with our listeners a little bit about you, a bit about your story, and a bit about what got you to where you are now, if that would be okay.
I lived in Germany, I lived in Bali, now I'm based in Costa Rica. And my journey started really like my actual awakening, I would say, and conscious living started in almost 10 years ago, 2013, when I had this huge, massive, profound awakening. This is when I felt fully, what does it mean to be alive? You know, how what love actually feels like in your body, you know, and it felt like I literally, my consciousness was shifted, like I was completely removed from what I thought I am into embodying this whole new awareness of what I am, what the universe is, how I'm one with the entire creation, how everything is love, you know, the oneness feeling and all of that, and how magical life basically is, and how much I was looking completely into other direction. Right. So when I had this awakening, which was on a rock bottom, I was reaching rock bottom on all levels of life, like literally. And when I had this awakening, then there was lots of things that came as a result from that, which completely transformed me. And lots of shifts that I did on my diet, on the way I interact with people, with my friends, with family, the way I lived my life. Like there was sudden shifts in all areas of my life, right? And that continued until this very day, really. Since then, I was like, when does this end? Like when I reach this destination of what we call enlightenment, maybe, or I don't know, self-realization. And then I realized, actually never, you know, we are always expanding, right? We are expanding beings. And the journey is continuous, right? Like you master something and then something else comes to master. This is the journey. This is the journey of being a conscious creator, right? As you probably know as well, like we create something, we let it go, then we create something else and continuously move on. And here I am today. I don't even know what kind of identity to put on myself, but what I do love doing and what I do most is I help support new world co-creators and people who truly want to embody a purpose for living and a joyful life to do that. And I also help people on their ascension and embodiment journey, because what is ascension if you cannot really bring it into the here and now in your body? It's just another attachment, right? Another knowing, but not practically embodied. So in a nutshell, this is what I am, this is what I do. Yeah.
I mean, you strike me. I mean, I kind of read energy, kind of like I breathe. It just happens automatically. I don't have to give it much thought. It just kind of happens. You just strike me energetically as a very conscious, awakened person. But it's kind of like if we each look at our own journeys, you know, from when we're born, we kind of through the veil of forgetfulness, and then we have to awaken, right, to the truth or our truth, really, because you know what is truth? It's perception, right? but it's kind of like we sort of wake up from the system that we're kind of within. And I, speaking, sort of drawing on my own experience, it was just being so far out of alignment with the way that I used to be, that actually the universe just, you mentioned rock bottom as your kind of awakening, but I think it's usually a pain point, like an intensive pain point, which actually shifts the veil, and we actually start to see that there's a different way, isn't there?
Yes, exactly. I think it's not the only way, especially in today's world, but we are, I don't know, I would say our generations are, we live so disconnected, as you said, so far away from what is true and what is in alignment. Then we have to reach that point where we just see it and it's enough. And then from there we move. But I think now in I guess the beings that are now incarnated on the planet, they are much more evolved. They have much more wisdom. Not all, of course, but like many. And the journey is a little bit more smoother. They don't have to go through that break point, Yeah. But we had to, and most people, I think they have to go through that contrast for sure.
Yeah, I think it's like you say, that sort of awakening where the identity that you've built up to that point just has to die. It literally has to. Your whole identity just falls away, and it's that in itself really can be a really painful moment when people talk about being red pilled and talk about waking up to see things for what they are, and it's actually realizing that, goodness me, I was living my entire life to this point not only out of alignment, but it's actually plugged into something which was just there controlling me. And I suppose when we properly awaken, we just start to see that we're just reflections of one another, right? It's like we're not all that different. Take the labels away, take the identities away, and take these, when you look at the micro, we're not, doesn't matter where you're from, ultimately we're not all that different in life. And it's, I think that we find that connection, would you say, with our sort of fellow human?
Exactly. This is what I felt. And this was the main feeling I felt when I had my awakening. That I cannot even describe it in words. There is no words that I can describe that. It was just an overwhelming feeling of warmth and love in my chest, of how everything is one. And it has been felt and also shown in a picture and visions, how I'm one with all humans. I'm one with all plants, animal life, then with the whole planet, the solar system, the sun, the galaxy, and it continued to go up and down into the cellular structure. And I was like, oh my God, what is this? How can I describe that? Is that me? What is that? That's life, right? Like, that's the universe. That's when we say we are the universe. That's the realization. So
in a way, it's kind of in a way it's so liberating when we get that perspective, because any kind of fear of death just goes, because we realize we're infinite, right? We just cross over and come back, and all of this kind of great stuff. And I remember the first time, with the help of the Pleiadians, that it was their energy that helped me to access the Akashic realm for the first time, almost like a springboard. Their frequency was so high, it was like a springboard. I remember I got there and started to explore, and I've sort of explored the different parts of the realm, and including the sort of the consciousness field of the Akashic realm, which is like that unity consciousness field, Christ consciousness field. And it showed me that we're kind of like, it's not only reflections of each other as humans, but we're connected to every other living soul in existence, not just humanity, but other galactic races. They all have souls, they all have consciousnesses. We're all connected through there, regardless of polarity as well. It's like when we look at this, where there is light, there has to be darkness, darkness has to be light, and all this kind of thing. So it is such a liberating experience. So it's kind of, would you having gone through what you've gone through, if anybody's having a little bit of a rough awakening sort of at the moment, I mean, we last 2 years, we've gone through sort of, people plugged in have gone through some pretty stressful experiences as a society around the world. So and perhaps some of those people now are listening to this and awakening, would you have any sort of advice for those who are maybe sort of rubbing their eyes and just wondering what's going on, and any sort of pieces of wisdom that you can share?
As it was for me, like really easy. It was, I was not prepared. I didn't have any structure. I didn't have anything that prepared me for the journey ahead. I was completely atheist. I didn't believe in nothing, in anything, just what is physical, what is matter, and what I can see. And yeah, I know that many people are entangled in religion, concepts, and aspects. Other people are completely rebellious and atheist and so on. And I guess just walking the path will ultimately show you, and trusting that you are exactly where you are in that moment is what really helps. Like not thinking that, okay, why people see these kind of podcasts and these kind of shows and stuff, and they're like, oh, I'm not yet there, or I wish I would be there. You are exactly where you are right now. And due to the fact that you see this is showing you how much more is available, and you can just open your mind, open your heart to allow life in more, right? But trust that where you are is, perfect. And there's all the steps ahead will be shown. Of course, the guidance, the perfect teachers at the right timing come, and all the instructions basically the universe will deliver. It's our ally. It has to.
I think, for people who are a little bit unsure, because again, there's no definitive roadmap. We're all sort of sovereign and unique, and we develop in different ways and at different sort of stages. But it's kind of one of the things that kind of, I suppose, gave me comfort was just to open up and actually just to surrender to the experience and don't try and push it too hard. Because I had a tendency when I first awakened to try and sort of make sense of it all and to try and control what was going on. And I just quickly learned that you can't do it. And I'll tell you a funny story. We did, probably an anecdote that people listening might find funny. But I remember we did plant medicine ceremony, ayahuasca, and some time ago. And I remember sort of in the middle of the experience, and they have the staff members kind of, and obviously the shaman's controlling it, it's wonderful. And you've got the staff members sort of helping out, making sure that everybody's okay. I remember sitting down on these steps, and I was in the middle of the experience, and it was kind of coming at me in waves. And the staff member said to me, said, "Oh, okay, if you want to accelerate the experience, go next to the fire or the flame, it's going to speed it up. Or if you want, just move away and it'll all kind of calm down." And I was sat next to these kind of tea light candles that were on the steps, right? And I said to the staff member, I said, I'm not too sure that I like where I'm at. Should I move the candles away from me? And she says, "You shouldn't touch the candles. It's you that should move." And I was just like, oh my God, that was the lesson right there. And I was like, don't try and control reality. Just surrender to it. And you just control yourself. You just move yourself away. Don't try and control everything that's around you. So that, even though it was tea light candle, was just, wow. It was one of the lessons I learned that night. It was beautiful. But yeah, surrender is one of the things, just surrender and trust. But I suppose this leads me nicely into my next question, perfectly actually, because you were located in Bali before you came to Costa Rica, right? And like we came over from Perth in Australia, so I know the distance that you've come. It's a long way, right? It's not like for those wondering geographically where things are. It's probably about 31 hours you've flown, I would imagine, from Indonesia. Would that be right?
Yes, but I went to Europe and I stayed there in my home country for 1 month. And from there back. But in total, almost, I think 30 hours. For
it's
sure.
a long way. But my question really was about, were you prompted in your heart? Did you just sort of surrender? You just felt prompted to come to Costa Rica? And because it's a big move, change of sort of culture, languages, and all this kind of thing, and a big place to come. But, it's kind of what I'm sensing is that you kind of, you were drawn to this part and just kind of surrendered to it and went with it. And it's another lesson in sort of surrender, really. I was just wondering if you could share about that experience.
Yeah. For sure. That's I'm happy to share about it, because it was for me also very decisive thing to do. And as much as I thought I'm in control, as you said, as much as I was feeling that I'm in control, and everything was amazing. Actually, I was living on a little island near Bali, and we already were a community of like around 100 people. starting to co-create, to live together, really, like in a physical way, going to gatherings, dances, events, discussing about how to make it sustainable, how to make permaculture included in all of those. And it felt like so, I don't know, that is something that I always wanted to happen. And then right away, soon after that, like weeks after that, I went home, I was with my partner, and I also, my guides are Arcturians directly, as I am mostly. I know that you are also, and I am an Arcturian soul mostly, I would say, and I always check in with them when I'm like really a big life decision like that is required. And when I tune into Costa Rica, I was a lot of warmth, a lot of warm energy, a lot of like very nurturing, very welcoming energy. Like, wow, maybe that's a destination. And I also had in my mind Hawaii, and I still do. So probably it's going to be, I'm going to be between at some point, who knows. But anyway, feeling that energy, tuning into the Costa Rican field and feeling that energy was ultimately what made me decide. So I had to surrender everything I knew that I should be doing in Bali and come to Costa Rica. And guess what? Here, apparently, I will actually do all of those things. I have the opportunity to do more of those things that I thought that I should be doing in Bali. And now Bali started to be touristic again and overwhelmed with tourism. And it makes sense why I'm here. So it's beautiful how life shows you eventually, even if you don't know, right? You just surrender, follow the flow, and you'll be guided, man. Like, yeah.
And I know, and it's sometimes it's just being happy for the universe to be in charge and just listening to what comes through, and like you say, just interpreting how you sense in the field and reading the energy and things like this. And it's kind of what we've discovered since coming to Costa Rica. We've never, like I said, we've never been here before. Couldn't speak the language. We're kind of part ways to being fluent in Spanish. Put the effort in doing that. But it's just kind of, it's interesting how your kind of mission and work just kind of evolves, right? And when you're exactly where you're meant to be at the exact time that you're meant to be there. It's kind of fitting back in. So I kind of, I'm excited for the future. I'm not sure how you feel.
Yes, me too, definitely. And to be honest, it feels like I know where I'm going, but at the same time, I don't want to know, man. I think like when I let the universe do its magic, I always end up in a better place, energetically, physically. So I don't want to control anymore. And that's what the beauty of this thing is. It's like the more I go on the journey, the least I even desire to control it, because I just see how universe is bringing so much faster the things I want, or aligns the momentum, the synchronicities, and to make a little bit of a story also here, because you mentioned about ayahuasca. I never did ayahuasca. Mm-hmm. And actually in 7 days, I'm going to go to Peru to do it. So it's funny how you mentioned it. And I was invited there. I knew I had to at some point, like it came into my field, but I was not wanting it, not ready that moment. And I was like, I said to my partner, you know what, this will come effortless. And someone invited me there, and they give it to me as a gift. It's a 10-day retreat as a gift. So I was like, wow, look how the universe, again, brings it even more easy. And I'm just surrendering to the journey. That's what I'm doing, and taking action and building structure and putting structure in what feels aligned, so that I, flow the energy even better. That's the inspiration right now.
Definitely, and again, it's just this this sort of the way the universe. It's almost like the current or flow in this river that just kind of takes you along, and that if things are meant to be, it's just kind of effortless. It just happens. You don't have to put too much effort in and push, and there shouldn't, if something is right, there's not too much resistance to it happening. It just kind of clicks and it just flows. That's one thing I've learned. Yes. And it certainly sounds like that's the case with your sort of plant medicine journey that you're about to do. I mean, I'm excited for you. It's really, really good. it's intense, but everyone goes on their own journey. But I will always remember it. It was really special. But one thing I want to kind of talk this now, because I'm speaking to you, and the energy that's coming off from you, it's lovely, really nice balance of energy, just a sense of peace coming from you. It's really nice, or inner peace. And it's kind of, I just sense I'm speaking to a healed masculine, basically. And it's kind of, we all go through this sort of healing journey, don't we? And, they say, there's the dark night of the soul. Well, I remember when I was doing the inner work, it was almost like dark month. It was like weeks I didn't want to get out of bed. It was so horrible. It was just horrendous. You got to go to the real uncomfortable parts of your history and stuff. And I know, from my perspective, I remember a social media post you did where you sort of met up with your father for one of the first times. I read that back in Australia. And it reminds me, I draw sort of similarities to my relationship with my father growing up, which he was practically there, but he was just emotionally absent. He didn't want to have kids. He had his own sort of traumas and stuff going on. And, our relationship kind of suffered as a result, and had to kind of heal a lot of that. So it's kind of, how was that for you? Sort of, if we talk about sort of, the healed masculine and perhaps father wounding and sort of wounding, how was that healing journey for you, if you could share with us?
Yeah, I would love to share, because I find that that was basically the most difficult part of my life that I had to integrate or overcome, this wound of the masculine. And thank you for noticing, by the way, my energy and speaking to it. I appreciate that. It's nice to have a reflection from someone who I also appreciate, and I feel likewise the energy.
Thank you.
Yes. So, well, basically, yeah, I was born, and the moment I was born, my father was not there, so he was not wanting to have kids and children. And I guess my wound around the masculine was that it was absent. I didn't have an abusive masculine; it was just absent. So I didn't know, what does it mean to be masculine? What does it mean to be a man, right? I was raised by women. I was raised mostly by my mother, and grandmother was there as well. And I didn't experience much masculine energy. My mom had a boyfriend when I was 11 for a lot of years. So I guess that man taught me some things, but also this is when I also experienced how toxic the masculine can be. So I got to, I guess, neutrally decide without being traumatized what I accept, what I tolerate, what is right and what is wrong, right? Still, there was this lack in me that I thought that my father took away from me, right? The abandonment, rejection wound, which we all experience to one degree or another. Either he's not emotionally available, either he's completely absent, or either he's abusive. Rarely there's someone who actually loves his kids in our generation, right? So, that was for me, I guess I kept myself small and disempowered because I had this perception that he has something, or he took something from me, and he keeps me disempowered. And when the moment I met him, which was a few months ago for the first time in my life, and when I met him, all of these illusions dissolved and crumbled. All of the shadow of the past, all of these skeletons in the closet, all of these rigid beliefs about it, and all of that was like completely dissolved. And this is where I could self-reflect, and I said, wow, I must have been doing something wrong, because actually I don't have any grudge about this person. Actually, I loved him. There was a love that I cannot describe between one another. Like really, we could feel it, like there was tears in our eyes, and he was like trying to make me feel comfortable, asking me things, and then saying, he was very, in a way, honest and explained his decision to choose to not have a child because he was not ready at that time. So it was really transparent, authentic discussion. I could fully be myself. He could fully be himself. And that was, I guess, the cherry on the cake, like the conclusion and the let's say, the final moment of healing my masculine. When I realized that, I was like, good, now I can get to choose to be myself without that, without that story behind.
That's beautiful.
And I'm still learning. We are still learning, all of us, right? We don't know how healthy masculine looks in this world because we experience so much unbalancement, and we just don't know. And I guess the feminine helps us on that path as well, because she reflects what is needed, what is, so it's beautiful.
100%. And it's kind of, I feel a lot of the healing comes from the masculine perspective is when the ego gets disengaged, because we have to admit that we're not perfect. We're not the strongest person on the planet. It's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to be upset and to shed some. It's okay to cry as a man, But the ego says, no, we need to be strong. Society says this. This is how we need to project ourselves, because we have this kind of invisible programming from society that God forbid that the pack senses that we're weak, because we're going to get less food and we're going to get less women, and this is basically how it is. So it's like I need to be the strongest I can be. So emotions are weakness. I need to suck it up. And I think that, talking to somebody like yourself, who's so clearly healed, is just like a breath of fresh air. And I do feel like it's typical of sort of, I'm 42. I mean, how old are you, Alex, if you don't mind me asking?
30, almost 35 this year. Will be 35.
Okay, so we're not too far apart, about 7 years. And so kind of almost the same generation-ish going back. And if we look at, I was born, you would have been born 87, and I was born in 80. And the 1980s, like society, very different to how it is kind of now. So but I do feel like people of our generation are getting the opportunity relatively early on, because we're still sort of, you're not quite middle-aged, but I'm just probably just middle-aged now, I would say. We've got this situation where it's like we can draw a line in the sand for these future generations, so the kids aren't perpetuating, or we aren't perpetuating this trauma onto the kids, right? And I think it's perfect timing when you look at this, the dawn of this kind of new era that we're in, this conscious era. I think it's just, we're going to see in our lifetime generations which are completely different from an emotional perspective than we've ever experienced. And I think it's super exciting. What do you think?
Yes, it's exciting. And I think that's one of the main jobs of the masculine on the planet, is to clear these ancestral atrocities, or let's call them unbalances, so that we don't put any polarization in this. And this is what was also part of my journey, was not only doing the work on this lifetime. I went deep into my soul's memory, into ancestral lineages from Egypt, from ancient Greece, from Romania, from like so much of I guess, archetypal energy and archetypes that I had to go into to feel them, to experience them, the warriors, all of these crazy, mad, masculine figures that existed on the planet. And I was like shocked. I was like, in a way, I was like, am I this, or was I this? You know what I mean? Is this who I was, or is this just a collective archetype to show me what not to be, and to clear that imprint from my instincts, right? From my creation, or my everyday, I would say, behavior, and be the man I actually want to be, and be that creator, that that man that I know we all aspire to have on this planet. Finally, we are all on that path one way or another, and it's so important. It's the most important to achieve that.
It's amazing. I think it's the revelation of the true I. It's the true self, really, which is what we're just stripping the densities and stripping the layers, and actually revealing what's at the core of us, aren't we? When we do that, which is just beautiful.
Totally.
Going into sort of your work and how you're expressing yourself now, and it's kind of it's awesome to see you doing such amazing work and lifting people up. But what would you say is the most, like, one of you? I know you enjoy all of it, and it's expressing from the heart, and it's it's great. But if you had elements that you just really love doing, or what's your genius zone, would you say, in relation to your work and your expression?
My genius started, and it still is, writing. I'm still in the process of writing a book, which I started to channel like 5 years ago, by the Arcturians, and they were precise. They showed me exactly how it should be, and I'm actually almost finalizing that. And among that, I'm doing a lot of soul mission coach, helping people on their purpose, to really empower them to be who they are, to build this world in whatever way they feel inspired to do so. And finally, because you also mentioned in the beginning of the podcast, I really have a deep desire to connect more with brothers and co-create more with brothers and unite the brotherhood lineage, like really be connected. I miss that, man. I miss that from my life. I'm with my partner. I love her. I'm around women. I have a group where there's like 7 women that I coach, like only women, like everywhere women. And I love women because that shows, it's needed. It's needed for them. It's needed for us. But I also love, and I think I'm ready to be around like brothers who are alike, brothers who want to grow and expand and reach, different layers within themselves, within who they are, and bring that on in their expression and on the planet to shift this thing, man.
Definitely. So sorry, Alex. Go on.
Yeah, so I feel like that there's a calling in that direction. Actually, that I was creating. I have just this name in my mind that I just already put it in the field. It's called the Ark of Brothers, and it sounds like it's going to be like a container with more brothers where we just support each other and do deep work and elevating work and all types of things that simply, makes us feel supportive and empowered on a journey of, that's what I feel.
Absolutely. I think like, honestly, like moving forward, there's massive room for that. And not just like, one of the things I'm looking forward to, I really resonate with what you're saying, because it's like I said, we had a quick chat before we started recording, and, I've really put out there, I want to call in more guys to bring some balance to this. And, it's like, I remember when we were in, there was over in Western Australia, Ria used to go to the women's circles and the cacao ceremonies and all this kind of stuff, but there's not really much sort of fellowship for, like I say, the brotherhood. So it's like that. I feel there needs to be much more of this, and I'd really encourage you if you felt called that way. I think that would be absolutely awesome to put together. I really do, because it's we need the feminine, but we also, men need the like band of brothers. Really, it's like we need that fellowship. We need the kind of sort of that masculine, surrounded by masculine energy, supportive masculine energy, healed masculine energy to support one another.
Exactly. And I felt, that I was like, I wanted to do it alone, for example. I was like, I wanted to do a container with brothers and a group, kind of like a group coaching stuff. But I was like, I don't want to do it alone. I want to do it with someone. I want to co-create this with someone. I want to, I just don't want to do it by myself. I do so many things by myself that, it's time to join forces with someone in something. So you never know. Like you called a man, I called also. How things align. We are both in Costa Rica. We're having this connection. We never know where it goes. And this is also the beauty of life.
This episode is brought to you by the Quantum Club. The Quantum Club is a membership program designed to help you develop your spiritual abilities, such as connecting to your galactic soul family as guides, speaking light languages, channeling, transmitting and receiving light technology. Every week we hold live sessions and work with you energetically on a deep level to unlock your divine intuitive gifts, to connect deeper than ever before with your higher self and galactic light beings. To find out more, head to bit.ly/galactic club. That's bit.ly/galactic club. See you there. Like I say, everything that's in alignment happens at kind of perfect time, and it just kind of rolls out. But I really do kind of I don't get me wrong, it's like I don't it's not like I want to focus on one and exclude the other, because it's like all the souls I work with, they're all amazing. I love them all, right? And I kind of like, I love raising people up, regardless of whether you're female or whether you're male or whatever. It doesn't matter. A soul and a consciousness is a soul and a consciousness. Like the body and gender is just a transitory thing in each lifetime, what's infinite and consistent is just the soul and the consciousness. Doesn't matter. I love just working with other souls and other consciousness, but I do see that there's a big space within this kind of conscious awakened arena, let's call it, for the masculine that needs to kind of come in now. And I think the feminine's always been great at expressing their emotions. That just goes hand in hand, like a wink and a smile. But ultimately, it's kind of, I do sense, like I say, there's a big space for the masculine to come in, especially as you got people perhaps listening to this now who are starting to go through this awakening stage, perhaps that I went through and that you went through back in 2013. And that we'll get to the place where they're like, done the inner work, I've worked on myself, or want to be supported through that healing journey. Because it's not just about, we only want to gather with the finished product. It's not, well, let's support one another through this transition, right? And another thing I've been called is that, what's going on, you've got sort of governments and authorities and stuff and the media that try and seek to divide people and turn people against one another. But actually, one of the things that we need to be mindful of when we've got our fellow sort of brother and sisters that are awakening is not to offer any judgment. It's just to be there supportive for them. And it doesn't matter whether, they've called us crackpots or woo-woo or, just kind of conspiracy theorists or just nutters or whatever it is, because it's a reflection of what's the wounding that's going on in them. But I feel like there's an opportunity to support a lot of people in the not too distant future on this journey. And a big part of that, from what you were saying there, is helping guys and doing the things with the guys, which will be awesome, man.
Totally.
Sorry?
Totally.
So like, how do you see, goodness me, if you could go into the field now, channel this in. So looking forwards, what's your vision for the new earth, the new way that we're going to live? What's about to be birthed into reality that's going to shift up? What's your vision and how do you see it playing out?
Nice. I like this. This is also exactly what I wrote today in my book. I was channeling this by my Arcturian guides, exactly this. So, what I see, what I've been shown, what I feel, it's like a whole embodiment experience that I constantly crave for, in a way, to exist, is, a world where we all live in harmony with, this is what New Earth is for me, a world where we all live in harmony with the natural laws, with universal laws, with nature, with technology, perfect symbiosis, nothing damages one another, and so on. And if then we find solutions, we evolve, we co-create. And I definitely don't see us as being cave people, just being isolated from technology or being, restricting ourselves from the progress we can, let's say, we did so far, and we can learn from and adjust and do even better. So I see a world like that, like the cities we build, the communities we build are in harmony with the universal laws, with the sacred geometry. We build sustainably. Oh man, there's so much to it, right? And we all contribute there. We are all a piece of the puzzle in each unique way to that. And it's already happening. We can see here in Costa Rica every now and then there's like eco villages and eco communities and stuff that, aspire to that vision. And on a large scale, I guess everywhere in the world is kind of happening now. And each bring our own uniqueness to it, with our own tribe, with our own set of, soul family, or however we describe it, people alike. And this is how I see it. And what I know is that this journey of the new earth is like, it has kind of like two stages. 1 second, my WhatsApp is doing some stuff.
That's okay.
Yeah, so one stage is when, we all kind of felt out since we were born that, this world is not quite okay, or there's something needed. So we hold that vision, into the quantum and into our hearts. We hold that vision on how it should be, right? And we manifested that. It's in the quantum jelly. It's coming. However, now we need to practically do the steps to create it, as you said, like come together, like really do it, whatever it takes. Someone does permaculture, other people are connecting with other brothers and creating councils. One is an engineer, one is an artist, a channeler. But we need to physically, actively, practically do it. And I think this is the stage right now.
Yes, like my God, honestly, like this is the thing that keeps coming through for me. It's like it's this transition that we're going through, and I see this repeatedly time and time again. And mark this date, okay? And I keep getting given this is July 2024 is basically where what we see around us, everything just starts to kind of crumble and goes. And we, from this point, is where we can start to rebuild back, and we build this new earth. And it's probably, if it's organized and if it's kind of done efficiently, we can probably do this in 6 to 10 years. If it's all a bit chaotic, it's probably going to take 40. And we're looking at, so from my perspective, I would like to try and usher it in the most sort of streamlined way possible. So, if we've got a load of people we need to start thinking in practical terms. I mean, again, it's the masculine energy, right? We're practical people.
Yes.
It's solutions. How do we? So it's fine going around hugging one another, but ultimately, it's kind of, if we've got a load of well-meaning people just running around doing all this stuff, it's just going to be sort of chaotic, and so it needs to be kind of organized. And another thing I say to people, we move forward into this new earth. Do we think that sort of electricity is going to be wireless? Where's the water coming through your plumbing? There still needs to be this practical stuff taken care of in these communities, and how it's planned, how it's strategized. And this is where I feel like the divine masculine, but the healed version, obviously, is really going to come into the fore. And so if anybody's listening to this and you feel maybe everything, you're waking up to the fact that everything you thought to this point was kind of your life, you've lived a lie, and you're thinking, God, what's the purpose of life, etc. My goodness me, we need as many people as we possibly can for this rebuild, because we're talking root and branch rebuild for every level of society, how we live. Like you say, we're not going back to the dark ages, living like cavemen. We're going to have electricity and power, and we'll be taught there'll be the new quantum financial system, not the debt-based fiat currency system that's going to go away, but a brand new system of governance. So the whole political system is going to go away, how we knew it, and we're going to be all living a more equitable way of living, in tune with each other, most importantly, our fellow human being. All the division's going to go away, new education systems, new healthcare systems, 6,000 patents, which are suddenly going to be released that have been suppressed, when we're talking about healthcare and all. My goodness, it's going to be sensational, but we need groups of people to enact this stuff. So it's kind of, this is where I really feel there's an opportunity and a space for men in general, like healed, conscious, awakened men to come forth and bring this into reality. What are your thoughts on that?
I couldn't agree more. You said it all. You literally said it all. Like, that's what it is. Because as you said, like, we all hugged each other. We all went to the cacao ceremony and felt each other and expanded each other and felt the love, which is amazing. But the action, the inspired masculine precision, penetrative action misses.
Yes.
And it's happening. It's now. It's like now it's time. It's perfect timing. And no matter how many of those masculine are, because I can see a tendency even in the awakening community of the masculine. They're like, yes, they are doing all of this, rituals of healing and so on, but they still function in the old system and still old paradigm, and they're still chasing the money. And there's like still this, self-mastery, money vibe around and building your empire, which is great. You can do that, do it, but out of service, out of alignment, and then spread it like a cancer into a positive direction.
Yes.
This is now what happens. Either you have money or you don't. Doesn't matter. It's about taking the action to support wherever you feel guided as a masculine energy, instead of just flowing around. And yeah, man, it's
100%. 100%. This is why we've entered this when the frequency of the planet shifted, and we've gone into this divine union. So it's shifted from the patriarchy, right? So it's like where sort of feminine was suppressed, etc. And now that's come to the surface and we've got this balance, but it's kind of, the female needs the masculine energy just as the masculine needs the feminine. It's a symbiotic relationship, right? On many levels. One can't really exist happily without the other. So it's kind of, I sense that there's a lot of divine feminine. All of this is kind of sit out there, and this field of energy is really thick as I look at it, because just the volume of people that are here, my God, we need to bring the guys in, man, to be bringing this balance to this frequency, don't we?
Yes, we need to move that. Yeah, man. And no, it's exactly that. Like I cannot say anything else. It's perfect.
Yeah,
it's what the next step is.
That's another thing. Leads me on to the sort of next thing. We're talking about the New Earth societies and permaculture. And I noticed a post that you did either yesterday or over the weekend where you were talking about the quality of soil. And I thought that was really interesting as well. Not many people realize this kind of stuff. And I remember seeing years ago this statistic where, and I'm from the UK, and the spinach that's consumed in the UK has now got 60% less iron in it than just after World War II. And that's just because of the intensive farming in the soil and stuff. And I thought you made a really interesting point about, it was, I think, the nutrients in an orange, I think the post you're making about the soil. But it just goes to show that we've got, there's so many things that we need to focus on. And if we're not careful, we're going to face problems in a few short years, aren't we?
Yes, exactly. And you know how it is. All aspects of ourselves, externally and internally, have to evolve at the same time. You cannot ignore soil, which is the fundamental of our existence, and focus on enlightenment or whatever other things. It's going to ripple effect. And we talk about 20, 30 years. I saw this about the soil. I was listening to a podcast of Sadhguru, this guy. And he actually does a campaign on the planet to inform about this with the soil and how to, help to reproduce, regenerate soil. So it's really amazing what he does. And I always kind of had a resistance about gurus and people like this, but he actually does the practical stuff. He's not just sitting on his throne teaching and how enlightenment and spirituality is. He's doing the work physically. And that is what we all do. That's already, it's a masculine movement that we need to take back all and clear and repaint all of the pieces of the puzzle so that we can have a full picture that,
I think if we start to take the right steps, we would all be encouraged at how quickly we can start to right the stuff which has gone wrong. If we all start taking steps in the right direction, sorting out the soil, literally reducing down all of these plastics and the microplastics and starting to kind of clean up our act here on Earth, just how quickly and resilient Gaia and planet Earth is, and how quickly it'll bounce back. And we just need to stop suppressing, I guess, the neutral state of Gaia, of what it should be. Basically, we just kind of, as a species, we're just kind of acting not day-to-day people, but the corporations and all the rest of it. The ones that are there, kind of making the money. I mean, I remember just different ways of doing things. I remember being in Kuala Lumpur once, and a few years ago. And I didn't realize the problems that they had, where I think it was palm oil growers in Indonesia that were burning, and the cheapest way for them to clear the fields and stuff for the crop the following year, rather than cut it down, is to burn. And then what happens, all of the smoke comes up, drifts across, and the people in Kuala Lumpur are just smogged out. Like this, honestly, I've never seen anything like it. It was like this thick smog of, you couldn't really see far in front of you, and the air quality is so poor. And I think it's just more sustainable, different ways of doing things where we consider the consequences of what we do. And I think that's probably something, again, sort of corporations being driven by profit and all this kind of thing. That's what they consider first above sort of sustainability. So it's going to be super, super interesting. And I'm excited for the future, really, because it's exciting for positive change. But this leads me on to my last question for you now. And it's a question I try and ask everybody when I get the chance to. And if I had a little time machine, I've got a little crystal here, nice piece of quartz there. So if I had a little time machine and we could go back 10 years ago okay, to speak to Alex from actually 2012, actually just before your awakening. No coincidence. It's always 10 years. It wasn't kind of tailored to your story, but it's always a question. If you could go back 10 years, so it'd be 2012, and you could only give yourself one piece of advice. So you couldn't sit down and chapter and verse and all this kind of stuff. It was just one piece of advice that you would give yourself back then, as you know. What would that one piece of advice be?
That's such a question. I wrote that in my journal a few times, but I keep forgetting it. One piece of advice.
Hard, isn't it? It's difficult. What one do you pick? You know, it's like I've wrestled
Yes.
with it. It's hard, man. If you had to
Yes.
pick one, what would you reckon? What would you pick? What are you leaning towards?
Remember.
Okay.
I will come as a voice, as a guidance. I think actually I did that from the future timeline to myself when I was 14. But I will go back there again and say, just remember, just do not forget again. Like, or if you do, it's okay, but keep remembering.
Yeah,
You know.
I think mine was back. I think if I had to go back, I was going back 2011. I think I asked myself a question. And the first thing that came through to me then was, don't chase shiny objects. That's what came through to me. And it was basically because I was literally just all about the money back then, and I was just driven by money. That it was literally about accumulating shiny objects. And for me, it was just like, don't chase shiny objects. It's going to lead you kind of down the wrong path. So yeah, man, thank you so much. Like, where would you, where can all the listeners and where can people tune into this? Where can they catch up with you? Where can they find you, Alex?
First of all, thank you. It was really, really pleasant. I really love the energy, and I feel good things about this, and it's amazing. So people can find me on most platforms, mostly Instagram. If you write Alex Buta, my name there will pop up. The ID there is I am Alex Buta. And of course, on my website, alexbuta.com, on Facebook, YouTube. I'm co-creating with other platforms as well, but I guess on the social media and website, this is where I can be found.
That's fantastic. Have you got anything you want to mention, or have you got anything currently going on at the moment, or any place that you'd like to direct people to? What are you offering at the moment? How can people sort of work with you, and what have you got going on at the moment?
At the moment, so I still have my private sessions, which is like very intuitive, helping people on their ascension, on their embodiment, on their soul mission. So, you know, that's always kind of happening in the background all the time. Then I have a program called Living Your Soul Mission, which is helping people build their online platforms, you know, expressing their true essence, their true signature into the online world, so people, like-minded people can feel them, their tribe can feel them and co-create with them. So I really do the website for them as well, and design in many aspects. Yeah, I do that as well for the projects that I resonate with. So there's an application to that as well. And basically, on my website, you can find all my current work all the time. So alexbuta.com, that's where I'm at, you know, or you can just ask me. And I appreciate that you encourage this.
Absolutely. And, you know, if you to hear that you're helping people sort of, helping sort of conscious people and other businesses bring their visions to life and stuff, that's incredible. And I'd encourage everybody to go and check out Alex's channel, go and check out his website, go and book a session with him. Let him help you. I can just feel chatting to him now. He's got great energy, really balanced individual. And it's been a pleasure to have you on the podcast. Thanks so much for coming on, and it's been awesome to have a chat. Thanks so much, Alex.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Really, it was really fun.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Architects of Destiny podcast. Be sure to subscribe, and we will see you on the next episode.